Good evening, family. You're back again at The Journey 2020. We like to say here at The Journey that the journey is from me to you and from you to me. And with that, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Dr. John Robertson. I'm a clinical psychologist in the Orlando, Florida area. And I've done this show with my co-host, and I will call him tonight my partner in crime, because the last time that I didn't, he felt that something was missing. So Charles, go ahead.
Well, it's I had gotten used to being your partner in crime, but that's, as I say, a very good thing, and I've been called worse. But hello, everyone. Welcome to the Journey 2020. Charles Morris, happy to be with you here this evening. As you know, we are into the holiday season, and we have a good show for you tonight. And we will talk about. I'm going to let Dr. Robinson. You're actually pretty good at that. So you're much more better at it than I am. So So I will let you explain some of the things
To quote Spike Lee, are you saying that I'm more better at it?
Yeah, more better. Okay. Definitely more better.
Okay. I'm going to disagree with that, because this is, I like to call, there's a word that they call a dilettante, and that means that somebody that doesn't know nothing and that pretends like they know something about stuff that they don't know. Okay? Now, I do know clinical psychology. But I don't know broadcast, and I'm surrounded by folks that know that.
Well, see, the thing is that people don't quite understand. I give you a perfect example. Perfect example. What people don't understand, when you watch the news, news is a perfect example, and you see these people, regardless of what markets you go to, basically the format is generally the same. Okay?
Right.
And they kind of look the same in the sense of how they want you to look.
That's true.
So when you send your resume in, they're looking for a particular look. Okay? First of all, you got to have a certain look.
Okay.
And then all you got to be able to do is read and write.
Okay.
So you can read and write.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the thing is, the majority of the time of what you're saying, which you got them beat, is right there in front of them. So they're reading. Even hello, my name is. It's right there in front of them.
I hear you.
And if you ever watch them, especially nowadays, because back in the old days, when the teleprompter went down, because they was used to not necessarily having a teleprompter, the funniest thing is when the teleprompter go down and they don't keep up, because right there in front of them, they have it here, below them, and they supposed to move along with the teleprompter. Well, when you get lazy, and that once or twice a year when that teleprompter goes down and you're 12 pages in and you're still on page number 2 in front of you, and now they got to try to find themselves.
Right.
So all I'm saying is, long as you can read and write, and oh, by the way, now they don't even write most of their own material now. So long as you can read.
So you're in good shape. That's it.
There you go.
All
That's
right.
television, as in the news, and what you see the majority of the time. Even these guys that are on ESPN, everything is right there in front of them.
Okay.
And the producers and the co-producers all prep them and let them know ahead of time. They're talking to them in the ear.
Okay.
So you got them beat because you just do your thing.
Wow. Well, I'm going to say, without the teleprompter, if I pause or slow down, it's not because the teleprompter has stopped. Because, as they say, we're definitely low budget. Or I shouldn't say low budget.
No, that's okay.
We are real.
Right.
So we will go with what's there. And I want to introduce again my good friend, Miss Gil Gardner. Pastor Gil Gardner, Minister Gil Gardner, author Gil Gardner, head of a nonprofit organization Gil Gardner.
But can you sell popcorn? See, that's the question. Can you sell popcorn?
I think you got me beat on that, Charles. Can't sell popcorn.
Okay.
And, to just continue, tonight, because we're coming very close to the Christmas season. We are in the Christmas season. And for those of you who are of faith, this is Advent. Advent, the preparation for the coming, as I understand
right.
it. And Charles had identified an interesting way of looking at our topic tonight. And I'm going to, Charles, let you go ahead and introduce, because the question that was in the topic was a great one.
Well, I was saying, do we celebrate in Christmas now, which is you hear which actually, now that I said it, I got another question, which would be a good topic for the show. Because now when I said it, because when I say Christmas, now you have to be conscious of, like, can I say Merry Christmas versus Happy Holidays? So when somebody say Happy Holidays, I go Merry Christmas. Because for some odd reason, for whatever reason, you're not supposed to say Merry Christmas to some people, which I don't, but in saying that, in this time of the season, do we celebrate the season for the birth of Christ, and do we actually, are we now as parents teaching that to our children versus them running out on Christmas Day to see what's under the Christmas tree? And what part does that take? Are we just excited about Black Friday? So, are we excited about Black Friday because of this time of the year, or the Cyber Monday,
right?
And even the Christmas after the after Christmas sales,
right?
So, is it about that? Are we really celebrating the birth of Christ?
Exactly, and I think that it's a great question, and one that I know at some point probably every one of us has taken a look and said, well, what is this really about? Is it about the secular concept of a holiday season, Charles, as you identified, or is it about a holy season? And I'm going to ask you to put on Sister Gail, your pastor or minister's cap.
But can I ask something first?
Sure.
Now, if let's just say somebody like Billy Graham or one of my favorite pastors that I watched that remind me of my pastor is Charles Stanley. Are you familiar with Charles Stanley?
Yes, I am. Very good teacher.
Okay. If they were to come to town, if they were to be in the arena or anywhere, this place would be packed. Packed.
Yes.
If they were in the Citrus Bowl, it was funny because I heard somebody say something the other day. They said the Tangerine Bowl. I was like, oh, I ain't heard that in years. The Tangerine Bowl is like, whoa, you are old.
It is back in
you are old. It used to be called the Tangerine Bowl.
Yeah.
They could feel the Citrus Bowl. But they always say that when it comes to something like Merry Christmas, that we're so quiet. And in addition to that, why you think we're so quiet? Why we don't get mad when we start talking about taking the Merry out of Christmas? Why we don't get mad? Like other people. People that's not even from this country that tries to get us to change, are not even part of this country in the sense of the making of it, and why we celebrate. Why we don't get mad? Why we don't yell and scream like other people when it comes to saying that you're invading on our rights? So I kind of threw that out there. So, and the places are packed. So why don't we be a little bit upset when we're trying to take the Merry out of Christmas?
I can't speak for everyone, but I can observe from what I've learned from other people and watching people, and from my own experiences, that I think that we have become, as a nation, very, what's the word? I guess we have become soft and more tolerant of things that really we shouldn't be intolerant of. And I think the fight in itself can be twofold. One, it can be fighting for our rights, but that's what this nation was built on. For everyone has a right to the way they worship. See, just so happens our way of worshiping is popular with the whole world. I mean, we get to go shopping. Everybody just grabs hold. They don't grab hold of Ramadan as a day to go, a Black Friday and Ramadan. They don't grab hold of that as the Jewish holiday we just celebrated on Thanksgiving. Was it is it Hanukkah? Or was one of the,
Hanukkah.
during Thanksgiving happened on the same day for the first time in like thousands of years or something, hundreds of years, some enormous
many
number.
years,
So my whole thing is that and also the nature of our celebration. I think the nature of our celebration has to do also with a lot of reasons why we may not fight for some things. We don't have to fight for a lot in this country. I'm so glad that men went over to fight for the right that we didn't have. We now don't have to hide in secret to have Sunday service because of what has gone on the last few years with our servicemen. If they had not been fighting for our freedom, what would be happening today? We had to hide to have worship service in our homes as opposed to going into a church building. So what I'm saying is we have those freedoms that the others don't have. So I think because we have the freedom, and people have to remember that God gives us choices, and if He gives us choices, who are we not to allow other people to have their choice? It doesn't make Him any less real.
What I'm saying is that it's not that the choice, but what I'm saying is that if the people that are protesting, if we try to do something against their religion, they would be loud. They would be, we would hear. But it's kind of like we just sit back and I'll say it in a way that you understand. It's almost like there's not enough pride. I say it like that, and I don't mean it like that. But I'm saying out of all of the religion and the people, we as in Christians, it's almost like we will allow you to take the Mary out of Christmas with just going, okay.
But I don't think we've allowed them to do anything. That's another reason why they have rights, and their thing is that as a nation, they are it's not just about Christendom to them. There's other countries and other nations. That's why I tell people about the president. He makes some laws and things that I don't agree with necessarily, but he's just not my president.
Right.
He's the president of the people.
Right.
And he's a politician.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Okay. So it's the same with looking at what we. I don't think it's a matter of taking or having to stand for our rights to call it Mary. I think what we're looking at here is we as a people who are Christians need to be the ones that uphold it, because if we're not living what we claim we are, people will trample over everything because we have allowed that.
Well, it's not the Mary that I'm necessarily focusing on. It's just the act of trying to abolish us the way that they tried to, is what I'm trying to say. It means it's as they slowly took the prayers out of school. I get the separation of state and church. I get that, but it's just slowly. It's just that sometimes, honestly, I feel that we are a little bit too quiet. And
but did we take it? Did they take it from us, or did we sit back and become complacent?
I mean, we are who we are in the sense that we are holy in ourselves.
Okay.
But then there comes a time in which, what I'm saying is, if it was any other religion, they wouldn't be as quiet as we are.
That's because maybe there are people making a noise about it, and maybe we're not. And the thing is, that's where I go back to the nature of if we're talking about Christendom itself, the nature of Christendom. I don't really believe Jesus would have. I don't think he would have had to. I don't think that's what he would. His thing was that people come on their free will, because people are given choices, and so I don't believe that. Look at you laying back on me.
No. It's the chair. No, it's the chair. No, it's the chair that I'm in.
So you would begin to read that body language.
Yeah.
No, it's the chair. It's the chair.
Okay.
But I don't believe, because of the nature of who he is and who we are as Christians, as a Christian body, I believe we need to do what they say. Go out and vote if you don't like certain things.
Right.
The things that we should be doing, stand up, live correctly according to the scriptures. Yeah, I believe those are the things that brought respect. And the reason why, because we have decided to tolerate some things, and now we can't get that respect. So I think it's what, we don't have to go jump up and down and scream, because that's what everybody else do. We were supposed to have been different.
Well, not necessarily jump up and down the screen. Like,
But that's an exaggeration.
right? But what I'm saying is, it's just like I've even heard in some of the workplaces. It's like they don't want you to say Merry Christmas. It's like what?
Oh,
And
I
so,
haven't heard that.
right, yeah,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
but yeah,
Really?
yeah,
No.
yeah. So,
Really?
but I meant like if you say it, then some people are offended who's in the office, that kind of thing. So that's why it's like Happy Holidays,
Well, that's a personal
right?
problem.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but in addition to that, I'm just talking about just when you grow up and it was Merry Christmas, or there was prayer in school, and then it was this and it was that, and then slowly these things have been taken away, and then we can always point back to look at how the world is today, from the school system to so on and so forth. And we honestly get that, but they don't get that, which is fine. But still, I just hear it all the time that we're just quiet. We're just too quiet. That's all.
Well, I'm going to jump in here and say that I think that if we follow the example of Christ, and I think because you raised a really good point, and that was that if we look at some of the fundamental tenets of Christianity, it has been a system of attraction.
Yes.
Where if we look at that yes, Jesus and his apostles did go out and spread the good word. Now, interestingly, it is called, again, the gospel, the good word.
Yes.
It was a gospel of inclusiveness.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get a little concerned when we talk about not tolerating, because if you talk about the example of Jesus, okay, if you and in terms of toleration, okay, that I would say that he was probably one of the most tolerant, individuals. Okay?
But that word, let me tell you, when I use that word, I'm not thinking of it from where everybody uses it now.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now it's attached to other things, and I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
When I say tolerant, I've always referred back to the scriptures. And so if we're living according to the scriptures, then we should be able to command that respect from other people. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm not talking about tolerating gay rights and stuff like that. I'm not talking about, because that's what we associate with the word tolerance with now. And I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
I'm talking about we have learned, and when I say I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about anything that is not according to the standard that is written for the Christian. That's a very broad area. If my son was talking to me today, and she was telling me about a friend of his that got killed a few years back, and how he was so disgusted because everybody was wearing shirts with the boy picture on it about angel gone to heaven. He said, "Mama, he died committing home invasion." He said, "What heaven is?" He said, and people have just grasped that because it was someone that they liked, but he got killed for breaking in somebody's house. So once again, we have this theology that that inclusive, that it's okay to do some things in this generation because we like people and everybody go and just a whole nother theology. So that's when I talk about when we sway away from the standard, then there's nothing to measure by. And that's a problem.
Okay.
That's a problem.
So it sounds like what you're saying is not so much being intolerant, but being able to meet a certain, as you said, a certain standard.
Yeah, if
to
you say
follow,
you're a Christian,
right?
now everybody's at different levels. You know, one person might be mature in one area and another. I think I'm mature as compared to what I was 5 or 6 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. Last year, you know. But I know that might be some other areas in which I need to do better in. So everyone is at a different level by their growth according to their experiences, you know, and what they've learned. But it's just that we as Christians have actually watered down that standard. And so, and then we have a generation of people that thinks totally different, but somebody has to keep the standard. I like the way we talk about this. There was a usefulness for the mothers in the church. You know,
Right.
you didn't come dressed any kind of way,
Right.
even if it might have been a little archaic today. But I had my nephew laughing in Atlanta the other week. I said, girls used to come to class when I was teaching, and they come to church like, you know, with all their breasts like looking like a busted can of biscuits, you know. So, with that,
Yeah, because I see some when I'm working in the church. I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't know if they just left the club and then came to the
Yes.
church, or whether or not
Well-
they're gonna
Yes.
leave the
And
church and then go to the
that's
club.
right.
So I'm like, wow.
and it's not about style.
right.
It's about, and I had somebody who really can't understand why this one male is saying, you know, is treating her the way he's treating her. He's got a title in the church, and rightly so. He should be mature enough. But I have to remind these young ladies that, you know, look at what you're wearing, and at the same time, these are men. They're still men first, regardless of the title. So you can't go marching by them and think that you know. Well, I won't go no
Well,
further.
one of the things that I think that we really need to tackle is that often there's the externals of the Christmas or the holiday is looked at, and just kind of coming back to our focus, that it is often the things that are focused on, as you mentioned, the gifts under the Christmas tree, the new clothing that's being bought, the 70-inch plasma flat screen, you know, that I got at the
HD. It's HD.
right, exactly, and lined up at 4:00 in the morning on Black Friday, you know, and managed to use my best football moves to get in the door before a nice old grandmother, you know, who was in front of me.
Right?
And as Charles mentioned, pride. Often individuals take a sense of pride
Yes.
in the secular aspect of the holiday.
Yes.
Some other aspects of pride, the sense of, well, my house has got more lights on it than anybody else's
Yes.
on the block.
Yes.
Okay.
There's more presents under my
Yes.
tree.
My tree.
My tree.
Exactly.
My tree
exactly.
is taller than your tree.
And let me go back to this disclaimer, because I noticed we went to the other side.
Yeah.
But let's get controversial. But does God love us? Yes, He does. Absolutely. He created us. When we go shopping and hang out at night and you know, trying to get the greatest deals, He still loves us, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And He still loves His creation. So that goes without saying.
But when we talk about the standards, you know, and again, when we talk about the reason for the season, is that 70-inch TV? Okay, now God is not going to kick us to the curb because we got that 70-inch TV. But to come back to your point, have we not lost the focus, you know, in the as in Scripture, you know, that in many ways the guidelines, both in Old Testament and New Testament, were laid out. But one of the problems were that we were a stiff-backed people back then, and it seems to me that in many ways and this is from my perspective, that the problem that I'm seeing is that we want to define, and we want what we want when we want it, and we don't see often the need to have a standard,
Yeah.
and we don't see a need to redirect some of our energies, to again the reason for the season. Again, we're here we're all Christians, but also in other belief systems, part of the task is the progress of the individual from being a lower set level of consciousness to a higher level of consciousness. So in many ways, when we talk about our Christian standards, I would say that not only is the problem there for Christianity, but it's there for the other religions at the same time. And so the way that I'm seeing it is that this sense of focus in on things, the material, the sense of those things that we possess, those things that are diversions, are often, be it Christian or Muslim or whatever, that battle against the struggle against things, I think is a constant theme. And in our society today, we have got such an onslaught of, if you want to call it, the commercials that say you've got to get the newest, the biggest, the most expensive, the whatever you want to call it, And I would say unless you have that standard that you talked about, that Christian standard, it leaves the person open to being inundated by the advertising mania that has us. I'm sorry. Let me just make one that has us overspend our credit card, under appreciate our family and that family time, and that often, and Charles, you mentioned this, and often spending more time at the club or on those club activities during this season than spending time, either in the church or in whatever place of worship that you spend. So I really see the struggle or the battle as being one of things that focus in on things versus a focus in on spiritual development. So
well, that's well. I was going to ask you about what you're talking about, because it's just, I don't know, if it's because I'm just poor and I don't have any money, or because I honestly don't get it. In talking about what you're talking about, let's just say if there was a news flash, and then news flash says on Saturday they're going to come out with a new iPhone. Oh, okay. So and the only thing new about it is that it's the last one was 12 pixels. This one is now 14. And then how long the line will be. Okay. And it's just amazing to me. Are the same thing as when a movie comes out, because I don't get it, because once it's out forever. It's not like you're saying this is only going to be here for 2 days.
Right.
And so it's just like, once it's out, it's out. So is that, I know it's part of the ego or the lack of discipline, or where we place that, which is part of the same thing in which you were just saying, because it's just amazing to me. Either I'm just old, I'm poor, because I just don't get it.
Listen, it's probably all three.
I just don't get standing in line for something that's going to be forever. A movie or an item or whatever. Could say, "Well, I was the first." It's like, okay, now I don't get it.
That's it.
I mean, if you were the first in line to say that I discovered penicillin, I go like, "Oh, okay, you cool,
Right, right,
Okay,
exactly.
you cool. You just cured cancer. Okay, I got that, but I don't get it."
and Charles, I think that's because your level of awareness, and consciousness is moved, beyond that focus in on the material, but and to kind of segue off your point, we belong to a fast food society. We want not only faster food, we want faster everything, faster cars. We want faster gratification in whatever we do, and that we sacrifice often that sense of, again, standards, and that sense
Yes.
of being able to, I call it, cherish the moments of our lives, which will never come again, for hanging out 4 o'clock at the Walmart or whatever, Best Buy or whatever the store is.
Tiger Direct.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You name it.
Yeah.
But the usual suspects are there, and often not only is that flash going to come over TV, but we're going to seek where those sales are. And I want to get off the point, but there's an app that I saw flash across my phone screen, and it said, get the latest bargain, that it would notify you when when the latest coupon or sale,
The latest of the latest.
would be. Right, okay, and to see how insidious that is. Again, when have we ever seen, either on TV or an app, that says, get the latest good word, okay, as in the gospel, or that here is the gospel saying, for the day, that will uplift, your life. Now, I presume it may exist somewhere. I just haven't seen it. Okay.
I get it in my phone, the word for the day.
Right. But you just made me think of something, or a question to ask you. Got to figure out how I want to ask it. But no, because I'm as far as like the reason for the season, and the feeling for the 70-inch flat screen TV on Christmas versus the feeling of feeding the homeless on Christmas. Okay. So I guess the question is, the way God made us, and we're all individuals, the gift of giving versus receiving. And that feeling of being able to look into, it doesn't matter, male, female, family, whatever, on Christmas Day, and they're sitting down, they're eating. Are you able to give this mother a gift to give her child, versus saying, oh wow, I got this big flat screen TV, for Christmas, but on Christmas Day, and I've had discussions, and I've said that I don't have children, but I've had talked to mothers who said, I take my children to the homeless shelter on Christmas, every Christmas, and we go feed them and we give them gifts, because now they understand the reason for the season. And I guess my question is the gratification of the 70-inch TV versus this gratification of feeding this person, two separate, different things from a clinical standpoint, I guess is what I'm asking. How would you make note on that?
Well, it's interesting because, again, as we talked about, and I touched a little bit earlier, the internal intrinsic gratification versus the external. That 70-inch TV will create, a momentary, external gratification. To say, I can invite my friends over and I'll show off,
Right.
the TV, etc. However,
HD.
there you go. However, very quickly, and probably in a series of days, or even less, that 70-inch satisfaction with the 70-inch TV is overshadowed because they just came out with the 80.
A smart TV. You didn't get the smart TV because somebody going, that's not the smart TV. That's the one that can't go on the internet. Oh, I didn't think about that. But yeah.
Right. Versus that internal intrinsic gratification of the mother who takes her children to the homeless shelter, who now has, through that simple act, shown them that not only can they have compassion, but she has taught them a lesson that will literally last them for a lifetime.
Right.
It's the same thing that I look at as the sense of teaching a man to fish.
Right, exactly.
That instead of giving him something, that material thing, once you've taught that man something, he is able to, or she is able to carry it with them through life. So the sense of being fulfilled, okay, and it's interesting that those two words come together, fulfilled, are not accomplished by external, kind of accomplishments, the money, the car, etc., but by those internal, intrinsic kind of things. And I'm going to come back to what I like to call my 10 guidelines of honoring the reasons for the season. But go ahead, Charles.
No, well, I was going to say, because as far as taking the kids down there on Sunday, but also she would say, okay, you don't play with these toys anymore, or you've outgrown these toys. Pack those up. You're going to give those to a child. And so that whole experience, because now they're learning and they see what that's like, because they're children that are growing up, and they're not dealing with what they see. And they see these kids that are so thankful and so grateful for their used toys, or for the things that they give them, or for a meal. It gives them a different perspective. On life. And you don't do it for the same reason. You go, oh, I got a 70-inch TV and it's HD.
Exactly.
There's a total different feeling.
Absolutely.
Totally different.
Absolutely.
And you're not looking for anything in return.
Exactly. Right. One real life example, and this happened today on our last show last week. We had Janet Bryan on, who was working to try to equip a school in Jamaica, and I got a call. Actually, it wasn't a call; it was a text message of someone who said, I saw the show, and I happen to have some clothing, some books, some supplies, etc. And I was getting ready to ship them over to the Salvation Army. And they even said, I even have some prom dresses that I'm getting ready to send to the Salvation Army. And she said, well, do you want prom dresses? And of course, I said, oh, of course.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
So whatever you got, bring it over. Well, they brought it over to the office this afternoon, and there were about 8, probably about 14 by 20 boxes.
Oh, wow.
Of clothing, supplies, etc. And the folks that brought it, they were beaming, like you wouldn't believe, with the sense that here it was that they were able to give this. And what they asked me, they said, well, um, how are you going to get it, to these kids in Jamaica? And, I said, well, we're going to pray a lot, and we may have to beg on our next show for somebody who will give us enough money to ship it, but not to worry about it. We'll get it there. But the reason I raise that is that from the simple act of placing out, a need that is not a need of the 70-inch TV for myself,
Right.
but to give to someone else, to give to those who have not, that the givers had such a sense of pride that they asked me, they said, well, when as a matter of fact, one of them was a teacher and said, I've got a bunch of books that are surplus, and I was getting ready to give them away somehow. Can I bring them? And he said he has 30 books of in subjects, math and arithmetic and geography and English, etc. And I said, bring them on over. Now I don't know where I'm going to put them, but we'll deal with that. But the sense that I got from them is that now his wife was the one that had to close together because of him, of her giving. He also saw that there was an opportunity to give. So, and I want to come back to something that Pastor Gail talked about, and that is the standard. This young lady, the wife, set a standard of giving, and if we want to put a label on it, Christian giving. What that did was to trigger off, without her saying much of anything, because hubby was there to be the labor to carry in the boxes. But because he saw what she put together, he spontaneously decided that he wanted to do something.
Yes.
So that I think one of the things that we can do by our own sense of meeting that standard by whatever we can give, and it's often not even the material things, but giving giving time, as in that mother and the children, or being able to say a kind word to someone who is down and out.
Yes.
During this time, recognizing what that word can do, calling someone who we haven't called in a long time because they went ahead and may have bruised up our feelings a little bit, in the and especially family members.
Yeah, how's that going on? Yeah, how's that going on? My sister and I was talking about that today, and how the holidays, and hopefully it brings the best out of us, but sometimes it also brings out, feelings
the worst.
and opportunities to say, okay, now I don't have to invite her to my house. Well, I invite everybody else, and I won't have to invite her. And I'll show her, or I'll show him. I invite everyone else. So, but I want to get back to something I thought about while we were in discussion. We have to, two things. We have to make a distinction between the type of people we're talking about, who we're talking about. Are we talking about Christians, or are we talking about anyone? Because no one else has to live this, is required to live the standard, except those who committed themselves to their lives to living a standard. That's number one. Number two, how we treat people, or how we view the Christmas season. The word means Christ Mass. How we view that, then that's not on everybody. That's on the people who believe. Okay, so we can't put that label or require those things of those people. They have not, it doesn't make God any less true, but now if they did not commit to that belief, then they, and you find that sometimes people who don't commit to verbally to a belief, but they were taught and have learned how to treat other people, But now we talk about believing in the Christmas season. What motivates you to believe? Is it because you have signed up, to believe, or you're going to flow of everyone else, and basically you find yourself, because you're not motivated by who this person was, and which these other people believe, then you're motivated more so by the environment and the things that goes on happenings. And so that's what we do. We have parties. People get drunk at office parties for Christmas season. So are we holding them accountable? They can't be held accountable. Not in that respect, because they have not signed up.
Yeah. Well, see, well, I'm going to have to disagree. With that. Okay. And we're allowed to disagree on the journey. And that is, no, they're not signed up. But one of the things that, in terms of us as human beings, that I believe that, and again, this comes just from me, that they're not required, to do anything. But one of the tenets that, again, Scripture talks about, is treating others as you would like to be treated.
But who was it written to?
Well, again, this was written actually to the Jews. But again, because we as Christians have adopted many of those beliefs. Remember, the rules were, or not the rules, but the sense of applying that not only to those believers, the Jews, but as mentioned in scriptures, to the Gentiles who were thought to be non-believers, that they were not excluded from it. They were not required. But again, when we talk about the Christianity being, a religion of inclusiveness, that it did not say, well, because you're a Gentile, so you don't have to. It was thought that if the message could be given to both Jew and Gentile, that the message is the message. Period.
I disagree.
Okay, go ahead.
Because the Gentiles who Paul was writing to were those who were meeting in houses and were following after the belief of the apostles. They were found in they were those particular Gentiles. It wasn't any Gentile. It was those particular ones that had decided that they wanted to know more about Christ and they wanted to give their life to Christ. And they were the ones that Paul was sent to. And so it does not fall on just anyone, even if they're considered Gentiles, unless that Gentile has like I said, God gives us choices. They chose to want to believe the teachings of Paul regarding salvation. And in Romans, he talks about Romans 3:23. And he talks about salvation and giving our life to the Lord. Okay, that was written to the Gentiles. Those were letters written to the Christian church as it was, and to the Gentiles. And so they were meeting in houses and behind closed doors and everywhere. Then they had came out of some horrific things, even in the Roman church, because they were doing all kinds of things that they were trying to incorporate into this new thing called Jesus.
Right,
As a matter of fact, they were the church at that time. The beliefs that they had, the world itself, as they knew it then, the Roman world, thought these were just some of the most craziest people. They were seen as heretics. They were seen as totally crazy because they didn't believe as the Jews believed. So those Gentiles were Gentiles that had agreed, had followed the words that and the teachings of Paul that had given their life in Romans 3:23 and the other scriptures, the Roman Road, and they were meeting in houses to learn more about salvation, about Christian living, and so those were those Gentiles. They gave themselves to that. It was not meant for. It was meant for anyone who wanted to join that type of belief, who wanted to follow that type of living. That's inclusion.
Well, I would say, Pastor,
Anyone can do it.
and this is your area and expertise. So I have to
about expertise.
no to bow to that expertise. The thing that I'm saying is that as Christians, that as we if you want to call it celebrate the season, or as we carry the message that because someone doesn't particularly believe the way that that we believe, doesn't mean that our message would be different.
No.
That it may not, they may not follow, etc. But my point was that when we act in a certain way, that we act in that way, whether that person is...
That includes us. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, right. That whether they're Christian, whether they're Jewish, whether they're Muslim, whether they're whatever.
I don't agree with that.
Oh, okay.
No,
I'm just saying that that's me. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I read something that I've been sharing probably since about like 1989?
Oh, good.
I always get a interesting...
Yeah, throwback time. Go
Well,
ahead.
yeah, I always get an interesting response to it. And some people get it, some people don't. But it says, what you choose will not matter to anyone, least of all God. God allows. God does not damage. God does not go off into a corner and huff and puff and blow the house down to show who is boss. God allows. God allowed because God is that which include all. God allows because God is not a being. God is this. God is which that includes all being. God is all of it and everything and cannot be apart from it in any way. What you choose will matter only to you and only to the degree that you care who you are.
Okay, now explain that. And what I'm looking for is how does it line up, or does it at all? Because I totally missed the point here, and I need you to help me.
Basically, what it's saying is God. You can't separate God from everything because God is everything.
God is, yeah.
Right. All it's saying,
Omnipresent.
all it's saying is only to the degree that you care about who you are in His walk with Him. That's all it's saying.
Okay.
That's really all it's saying. That's really, but see, people don't understand. All it's really saying is it only matters to the degree in which you take your walk.
Okay.
Because either way, you're not going to damage God.
No.
His will be done.
Right.
You only dust.
Right.
God is God.
Okay.
And so to you, who you're only here for a short time,
Yes.
it only matters to the degree that you care who you are in His word.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. And I'm thinking to myself, did I still understand what your point was? This is what I understand, and I think I'm not sure if it's touching on what you say, but
Okay. Oh,
I believe
okay. By the way, we got six minutes because I know you want to get to your 10.
6
Oh,
minutes.
okay. Yeah, we could.
Okay.
Well,
go ahead.
we can hold enough time, but the short of it is that when I joined, when I decided that I wanted to live for Christ, it included Christmas and every other holiday, but that I conserved and that I didn't miss the point why those holidays like Christmas was a part of that. That being that Christmas meant to me that Jesus Christ was born, and that He was born so He could die for my sins. That's what I believe. I believe that's in the scripture. That's what I believe. And that's what we teach. Okay? So if you have another mentality as regard to how you see God, my standard goes by what's written there. And I can come up with something else in my mind to justify why I do things or say certain things or live a certain way. But
that's why it says only to the degree that you
Okay.
care.
All right.
Who you are. That's what that means.
Okay. Okay. I'll just checking.
Yeah, and I think that and I think that the guidance again that we get from Scripture, Old Testament, New Testament, again is directed to our, if you want to call it, fearing God, but caring about that relationship, with God.
That's right.
And to the degree that we honor that, I think that we also honor ourselves, as human beings. To the degree that we separate ourselves, from each other. And again, this is John Robertson.
That's okay.
Okay. That we also create a schism not only with ourselves, but also with with our connection, to God, or however we see that higher power. And so, with my focus in as a psychologist on that the individual and their interior being, there's some things during this season that I believe that we need to pay attention to. Okay, and firstly, we need to pay attention that many of us are not settled in our minds, in our bodies, or literally in our souls. That for whatever reason, and it may be the sense of having been denied of certain things earlier on in life. It may have been because of traumas that we have suffered, because of if you want, whatever you want to call it, poverty, war, etc. That we're just not settled, and so that we continue to search. So the first step that I would say is to acknowledge that you're unsettled, that you are hurting. The second is to seek out guidance, and that guidance, I think, one of the best sources of guidance, is the good book.
Yes.
That there are the seeds, and the fruits, of that search that are there. And also we need to connect with other human beings that are like-minded, that are about the positive. Often we tend to, that old saying, seek for love in all the wrong places. Often we seek at times for guidance, in all the wrong places.
Yes.
As in trying to look for fellowship in the clubs, and finding, just the opposite of
Yes.
that. Also, we need to take a look at how we are treating those individuals around us. Are we putting family? Are we putting friends at the center, of our, of our living? And often, as you raised, Pastor, that some of the less pretty aspects of the relationships, get put on display.
Yes.
But I think we need to, if you want to call it, utilize the reason for the season, the advent, the coming of the Messiah, etc., as a way of putting aside some of those petty things and beginning to be about healing, be about, the birth, etc. Couple other things real quick. The sense of being able to help others,
Yes.
to reach out, I think is very important, and I think can be one of the healing things during this time. And then lastly, taking the time to nurture our spiritual growth.
Yes.
However we define that growth, but to not just to focus in on, as we kind of beat it to death, the 70-inch flat screen TV, HD, okay, right? But to take a look at, of that sense that we are more than just flesh and blood, muscle and sinew, that there is much more than that. And so I think with those things, we have some keys of how we can be in this season. I'd like to give the last word to you as we close out the broadcast.
I just want to wish everyone a joyous Merry Christmas, and remember that Jesus Christ was brought to this earth through a woman, and brought so that we could have life and have that more abundantly. And abundantly doesn't mean 70-inch TVs. All right. Okay. Look it up.
All right. With that, family, we're going to leave you for tonight. Again, may you have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. We'll be back next Friday, by the way, but these are early greetings, and to think in terms of the journey. And as I like to say, that the journey is from you to me and from me to you. See you next week. Good night.
Good night.